Hello, and welcome to Talk to Downtown. My name is Courtney Wood. I'm the Economic Development Director for the Downtown Stockton Alliance, which is a 501c6 nonprofit property-based business improvement district serving downtown Stockton. This webinar series is intended to connect our business owners, property owners, visitors, and residents with the organizations, people, and resources who can help them address issues which are of top concern to them. Happy New Year, everyone. Today we have special guest, Chad Reed. He is the Deputy Director of the City of Stockton's Public Works Department. We'll begin by having Chad introduce himself and share a little bit about his role at the Public Works Department and what it encompasses. Then I'll go ahead and ask him my list of questions I've outlined for him. And at the end, we'll open it up to viewers to go ahead and type in your questions. So thanks so much, Chad, for being here today. I'm really excited to learn all about what you do at Public Works and how it impacts the things that we see, our streets, our sidewalks, our parks. I'm really excited. So can you share a little bit about yourself and your role at the City of Stockton Public Works Department?
Of course. Well, good morning and Happy New Year. As you said, I'm the Deputy Director for Public Works for the City of Stockton. My role is to oversee operations and maintenance. And so what that entails is our parks, our streets, our traffic signal, electricians, sign shop, fleet, community enhancement, and then a transportation division. Wow.
So you have a lot of things that you're overseeing, a lot of different pieces to the puzzle.
There's quite a few sections. Yeah, and it's really exciting. A lot of great people. There's about 120 people in operations and maintenance. So it's something new and exciting every day, and it's definitely rewarding.
Amazing. Thank you for the overview and sharing a little bit about the pieces that you oversee directly. And now I'd like to know, how does the work of your division fit in with the other departments at the city? And also, how does your division kind of complement the work of Eric Alvarez, who was our guest previously for Public Works? I think he oversees a different division than you do. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about where your division fits in?
Yeah, for sure. So, as far as throughout the city, Public Works, we take care of infrastructure. We take care of like I said, the streets, the parks, a lot of the things that our citizens see and get to enjoy. So that can be really rewarding. Eric has a really cool job in the sense that his sphere of influence is over what we consider like capital improvement projects, right? So those are those big projects that we have the developers involved in, and bridges and big street projects like the Minor Avenue project and the California Street project that's coming up. And so he has what in our world we consider a CIP, a capital improvement project, a dollar value over 50,000. And so his group of engineers, they would work on those projects. In today's times, as tight as the job market is, we've helped out in a sense in some of those projects, and so dollar value isn't necessarily the defining separation between duties anymore, as much as it is, hey, how can we work towards as a team and work towards getting these projects delivered for city manager's office and for our citizens.
Okay, so you are the operations side of things. Eric is looking more at capital improvement projects, but you guys kind of work together to make these changes happen in our community. All right, so I kind of want to start with asking, what's something that you think people would be surprised to know about operations and maintenance at Public Works?
I don't know about surprised to know, but Public Works, we touch on almost anything that you see in the city, right? And so, especially in operations and maintenance. So if you're walking into a city facility, we maintain that facility. If you're enjoying a park, and we maintain that park. If you are going to a community pool, we maintain in operations and maintenance, we oversee the contract that maintains that pool. If you're building a subdivision, you would see Eric, right, and his team in Public Works. Our team would consult on, whatever maintenance items might be derived from that subdivision, right? So if you have a streetscape, right, then we would help consult on, the streetscapes, the design of the park, or the maintenance of the park. If you see a fire truck or a police car, responding to a call, our city fleet of mechanics, they maintain those vehicles, right? So if you have homelessness and you see the trash, we have a lot of city crews that are out there picking up the trash. So again, I think one of the neatest things or the rewarding things about operations and maintenance is we touch so much that people see. So that's kind of the cool thing about Public Works.
Yes. Okay. So you were kind of sharing just now that whenever there's a new subdivision or a new kind of project coming in, you guys are involved with kind of thinking about how much maintenance is involved here, how much time, how many people will we need to kind of maintain this new subdivision. That's very interesting. So right now, what kinds of projects like that are you consulting for, or are there any that are upcoming that you can talk about?
Subdivision wise, not necessarily. Something that would be more relative to downtown would be like the minor street improvement, right? And the maintenance that'll go on with that project after the contractor fulfills his term of maintenance on that, right? So the contractor is going to maintain it for a year, and then after that, our city crews would come in and we would maintain the landscaping, the lighting, and everything else that entails. So that's one project that's going on close to downtown that people might be interested in.
Very cool. Yes, that's an amazing project, and we're really excited to have it completed.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job with it. It's really cool to go by and see, we all know what it used to look like, and now you drive by and you're like, ooh, this is neat, so they're killing it with that.
Awesome. Okay, so are there any common questions that you're asked in your division? Or, maybe you get the same question all the time or same set of questions. And if so, how do you answer that question?
I don't know if we get a common question. I think a big theme, right, is probably around homelessness and the ability to, manage everything that entails. And so, a lot of people are concerned with, the time to respond or the amount of effort that goes into or planning that goes into addressing different locations, especially some of the hot locations. And so I would tell you, once people figure out that I'm in Public Works, that seems to be the question that I get is, the other one is like, how come I can't get my pothole fixed in front of my house? And so that's a big one, right? So we have some street issues around Stockton, and so we try and do our best to get them addressed as they come in. So probably homelessness and potholes, right? Those are some big ones. Trees, we have a lot of passionate citizens in Stockton that are very passionate about their trees. And as we are, right, we love trees. Maintaining them can be a little bit challenging. And so, we try and do our best to take care of the needs at hand, depending on the call. So those are probably our top three, right? Homelessness, potholes, and trees.
There you go. Yeah, important issues.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I guess touching on the homeless one, if, when does your department get involved when it comes to homeless cleanup? And what areas are you able to do that cleanup?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we're heavily invested in operations and maintenance, right? And the cleanup of homelessness or trash and blight, right? So we have a crew that works 6 to 7 days a week, depending on our staffing levels, to address graffiti and address the cleanup of the trash, whether it's in the right of way. We have contracted services with 3 different vendors that we use to help our city staff. We have council has allocated funding for 27 what we consider large scale cleanups that happen throughout the fiscal year or the calendar year, depending on how you look at it. So what that entails is it's anywhere between 7 and 14, 15 employees or contractors that go out, and we use big 10-wheel dump trucks and excavators and backhoes and skip loaders, and we load trash all day long in Mormon Slough is a hot area, places around Morley Park and different spots through the city that we tend to hit. And it's I think we just had our last one on the 8th. I think we did 30 truckloads.
Wow.
For a little over 50 tons of trash that was picked up, right? So a ton of trash is 2,000 pounds. So, that's a lot of trash. And that was, there was no displacement in that. That was just a trash only. I'm sorry, I take that back. There was a displacement in that, but the majority of it was just the trash that gets picked up. So that's a big topic, big area.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. And so you have scheduled times or, a scheduled amount of visits to these large, high traffic, high volume of trash areas kind of scheduled throughout the year, it sounds like?
Well, so not necessarily, we don't schedule an area as much as we schedule a date, right? So we have these dates identified, and then we work with PD and we work with the city hot team to make sure that we're providing services or we're offering services. Sometimes there's issues where we have somebody that might be blocking or damaging infrastructure, or blocking a sidewalk, or so those are escalated up a little bit, right? And we'll get those cleaned up. But as a whole, we work with a lot of our partners, right? Caltrans is one. We have a weekly meeting with Caltrans so that we're trying to communicate as a group, right? So we are making sure that we're offering the services to the individuals that might need it, but that we're working collectively to try and maintain certain areas and make sure that we can get things cleaned up as best as we can.
Amazing. Thank you for that work. Yes, it's very important to keeping our city looking fresh. Yeah,
no, that's important. We have a really good group of guys that go out and they do that every day, and they're passionate about what they do, and we see and feel the same things that the citizens do, right? This is our city, and so we're prideful of it, and so we want to do the best that we can with working within the limitations that we have, right? So I think the guys do a really good job.
Awesome. Okay, now let's touch on some of the other things that you were just mentioning. So maybe people do notice a pothole or some other kind of issue, maybe a streetlight is out. So how can citizens kind of communicate these issues to the city, specifically your department, to get them kind of resolved? What should that process look like for citizens?
No, great question. So we love Ask Stockton, right? So if you're not familiar with Ask Stockton, you can Google it, you can get the app, you can do pictures, and we can communicate with you, right? So if you, to your point, right, you see graffiti, you see a pothole, whatever issues you have going on, or whatever a citizen wants to bring up or bring forward, once it gets into Ask Stockton, then we can manage it, right? And so there's a group of people that look at the requests coming in, and they get put in the right department, and then that creates what we would call a service request, right? So a request for service. And then those get sent to a supervisor, and the supervisor will review it and either provide comment or turn it into a work order, and then we'll just go get it taken care of. So that's the best way to communicate with us, right? Otherwise, you can always pick up the phone and call the Public Works main line, and you'll get, one of our nice dispatchers that'll answer the phone and will direct you in the right direction.
Amazing.
Ask Stockton is the best, though. That's what we prefer.
It really is. If for anyone who hasn't used it before, it's amazing, and you get a response right away. You can kind of enter your specific issue, and you can enter the specific location, and then it will kind of send you a response saying, okay, we've seen your request for maintenance or repair, and it gives you a time frame within which the issue will be solved. And that time frame has always been accurate for anything that I've used it for. So it's really an amazing tool, and I give you guys a lot of
fantastic to hear. That's fantastic to hear, because that's one of our biggest challenges, is managing that time frame and customer expectations, right? And so we focus on that as a city, as a department. We meet with the city manager a couple times a month, and a group called OPDA. I don't know if you've heard of them, but we go over Ask Stockton requests, and so we report that data out. It's on a portal that the citizens can access. So it's very important to us in the time in which we turn around the services. So I think our guys do a pretty good job trying to manage expectations.
Yes, it's amazing. So I highly encourage anyone to use it if they haven't in the past. And you can use it for almost any issue. So some of the ones we've already mentioned were like potholes or streetlights, but anytime that you see kind of like something in the road, just anything at all, maybe you're noticing there's traffic issues in your neighborhood, you might want a stop sign involved, you can kind of just go in there, say, this is what I'd like to request, and you have a record of it that you've been kind of communicating with the city. So it's really, really amazing. I love that. And as far as your phone number, the general line for Public Works, do you have that offhand that you can kind of just say?
I should probably know that number off the top of my head. I don't, but I tell you what, I'll give you my direct line, and that's 209-937-8302, and you can call that number, and I'll push you to the right area.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about challenges. So what would you say are the biggest challenges that are facing your department of Public Works?
So obviously, homelessness, right? That's a huge challenge, and we've kind of talked about that. In my department specifically, doing recruitments is really challenging in the trade industry, right? So for years, we tell our kids, go to school, go to college, get a degree, right? And so what we're starting to see now is the effects of that, because not a lot of kids out there are going, hey, I want to be a mechanic, or I want to be a welder, I want to be an electrician, I want to be a carpenter. And that's where we struggle. So we just recently had a recruitment for a traffic signal electrician, and we had 2 qualified people to interview, and one of them was internal. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's brutal. So we had to become adaptive and try and think outside the box, on how we can help generate more interest into these kind of jobs. And so working with our HR team, in our department, and our supervisors, we've tried to, hey, let's recruit for maybe a lesser position, and we'll build somebody up, to become this bigger position that, eventually we need to fill. So that's probably, for me, that's probably one of the biggest challenges in my department. And then, the overall, manpower to be able to, take care of all the things that, need to be maintained or, fixed in Stockton is, there's a lot of things out there that, we want to take care of that are on our priority list. And so, you only have so many employees to be able to do that. And so you have to get resourceful, and you have to look at, contracting out work and figuring out different ways to, to meet the demands of maintaining and taking care of all the, the issues and requests that are coming in. So those 2-3 things are probably the biggest challenge.
Okay, so if there are anyone listening, or maybe people know someone who might be interested in being hired at Public Works, do you have positions available now? And if so, how could people learn more about them?
Yeah, no, that's great. So we're always hiring, right? And you can get online and you can fill out an interest card for a position. So if you have somebody that wants to be a mechanic, or wants to work for the city as a mechanic or an electrician or whatever, they can fill out an interest card. And then when HR does a recruitment, they can go through and make sure that these people are contacted or notified like, hey, this is happening. We have a recruitment coming up or we'll be having recruitments coming up for project managers, for fleet mechanics, traffic signal electricians. What else is out there? Welder fabricators. We ebb and flow on our what we call our streets crew, right? So if you have paving experience, concrete experience, like all that kind of stuff, right? Definitely jump on and fill out it's called an MRT, right? A maintenance repair technician. So fill out an interest card for that. That would be fantastic. So we would love to see people that are contacting us and like, hey, I want to come work for the city of Stockton. Heck yeah, let's get you signed up.
Awesome.
Now, HR, I got to preface that with, HR has the whole recruitment process, and they're probably like, there's the whole civil service kind of portion of this. But really, in all seriousness, if you want to work for the city, come tell us, and there's ways to get you on a list and help you get tested and get people on board.
Amazing. I think it's great too that you are kind of taking a new approach to where someone may not be quite where you need them skill wise, but you can train them to become what you need. I think that's a really interesting prospect for people. Very cool. Okay, so my next question is, let's say that there are projects coming up, big improvement projects to things related to operations and maintenance in downtown or just around the city. How does the conversation start about a big change like that might be needed? How does that come about, the decision to redo an entire, sidewalk area of a street? Are you guys involved in that kind of conversation?
To a certain degree, yes. In operations and maintenance, or in a project like that, public safety is our number one concern, right? And so that's usually how a lot of our projects are, derived from is, hey, there's a safety concern here, and how do we fix it, right? And so then that just kind of starts the conversation, and whose bucket will it fall in, and funding and that type of stuff, right? So, if there's a project that maybe a business owner is considering or something like that, you can always talk to our community development department. When it comes to public works, if it's a safety issue, definitely put in an Ask Stockton, and we'll look at it. And then if you provide the contact person's information, if it's a number and an email, then we can reach out and kind of fully understand what they're looking for. And and then depending, like I said, on what kind of project it is, it's either something big, then that would be Eric and his team. If it's a maintenance item or a repair item, then that would be my team. So that's probably the best way to communicate out, is still going back to that Ask Stockton.
Okay, so now I want to talk about opportunities and the future. So what kind of opportunities do you see for your department? And do you have any kind of improvements planned for downtown? We talked about Minor Avenue. Are there any other kind of operations or repair or maintenance things that we can look forward to?
Yeah, no, that's a great topic. So, we've been really fortunate in the sense that council has allocated a lot of discretionary funding for projects throughout the city. City manager has definitely, supported us in wanting, and giving us the ability to tackle these projects. And so we have a lot of great things coming. So specific to downtown would be the LED replacements light project, right? So we are in the process of figuring out the scope for that project. So location of street lights, how many street lights or poles. So that's going to be replacing the old style kind of metal Haugen lights to new LED, brighter, more efficient lights that'll hopefully make it look, a lot more beautiful downtown and provide a lot more safety for citizens as they're walking around. Another great project is so the Weber Point Event Center, right? The shade structure out there has been in place for about 20 years and it's reached the end of its life. And so we've had money that's been dedicated by council to be able to replace the shade structure. So we're in the middle of that project. So in the coming months, you'll see that shade structure come down. And then they're going to, fabricate a new one, and then there'll be a point where we put it back up. We've done some tree trimming across the city. And in another round of discretionary funds, council allocated about $1 million towards this backlog of trees that needed to come down and stumps that needed to be removed. So we completed that project in 2021. That was fantastic. So that was a great project to get off the books. If you're out driving around, you've seen, hopefully you've seen some park playgrounds get replaced. So we've had good. So that's really cool. I don't know, something that, it always kind of touches you when you drive by a park, you see the kids playing on the equipment. So some of our equipment's a little bit older. And so again, we've had the opportunity to have funding available to replace Oak West. We replaced the playground equipment. Laughlin Park, we replaced the equipment, or we're almost completed replacing that one. We just started the playground equipment over at Swenson Park. So we've had at Brotherhood Park, council approved some funding, and we received some donations to be able to get that playground equipment portion of it replaced, and it was vandalized. So that's a really great project. What else do we have? We have how about the downtown abandoned meter poles, right? You see those poles sitting around downtown there. Why is there a pole there, right? So we have a project right now where we're looking at removing those poles, and I know, right? So nobody randomly just hits a pole for no reason, right? So Jody and I Jody's our director of public works, right? Jody Almasi. So we had a great conversation the other day about the empty tree wells, right? So you see these tree wells, along downtown or, along MLK, and, they're not filled, and people wonder, well, why aren't they filled, right? And everybody loves trees, so we want to put a tree there, but trees, there's a couple different problems, right? So the size of the well is a little bit small, right? So when you put a tree there, it starts to grow, then it starts to lift and turn, and then it ends up damaging the sidewalk, and then it's like, oh man, we got to take this tree out because now we got to repair the sidewalk, right? So needing to find a type of tree that grows good, right? And in those tree wells looks good, right, to the customers. It has a way to make sure it's watered, right? Because maintaining those trees is hard in the sense that, when they're little and they're first planted, they require a lot of maintenance like that. So that will be something that we'll be addressing here in the near future. In our next year's fiscal plan, we have some funds allocated to paint some street lights.
Oh,
So
great.
that'll be nice. We're working on the Teen Impact Center. So we're on El Dorado. That's been a building that was just recently vacated. We're looking at doing some rehabbing on that, and city's going to occupy that building. So that'll be nice to get somebody in it. We just redid. What did we just redo? Trimmed. We trimmed a bunch of trees in Weber Point Event Center. Kind of get that tree canopy lifted up and get some dead trees out of there. Of course, the Minor Avenue, that one's coming to an end.
Yeah,
So,
it's looking really close. That one is.
yeah. Like I said, they did a great job on that. It looks really awesome. So yeah, so a lot of exciting projects coming up. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Exelus. So we've seen some Exelus at Oak Park. Those are Victory Park, Stribley. So those are those electronic restrooms. If you haven't seen them yet, or have you seen it? Yeah. You walk up, and you press a button, door opens up, and you can go inside and use the restroom. It's self-cleaning, so it cleans itself. So, with everything, COVID going around right now, people are a little bit leery, but it's a great way for, somebody to have maybe a little bit of peace of mind knowing that it, it cleans itself. And so, a lot of great stuff. We've tried to make some efforts in the Carly Square, trying to get the water feature cleaned up and the trash in there. That's really challenging. It's disheartening, when you walk by and you see a bunch of trash in there, you're like, man, this is such a beautiful square for everybody to enjoy. And then, you walk by and it's got a bunch of trash, and it's like, man, how do we maintain this, better? So we've had good conversations with our contractor, just trying to, raise the awareness and the level of expectation is like, hey, this is something we need to work towards, and keeping this consistent. We've had there's some issues around Janet Lay Plaza and some of the lifting with the bricks, and so we are working to try and get some of the hot areas addressed fairly soon. Get that taken care of. So a lot of great projects happening around downtown.
Yeah, these all sound amazing. I am excited about streetlights being painted, like those poles, some of the older ones, like the metal ones. It'd be cool to see them, refreshed. I'm excited about the Carly Square issue, the trash in the water. That's amazing. Love the new bathrooms in the parks, just everything. It just sounds like all the things that we've been needing, you guys are working on getting out there and improving that, the tree wells. And I know particularly our executive director has wanted those parking meters gone for a while. So I think he's really excited to see that one come to fruition too. So thank you. Those are all.
No, that's great. Also the court resurfacing, all of our city parks have got their courts resurfaced, almost all of them. We have a couple to touch up here at the end. But that's, I think as a whole, city employees are prideful, right, of the city that they work for, right? And so, again, it kind of hurts us just as much as it does a citizen when they go by and they can't use something, or something looks deteriorated or dilapidated, right? And so, being in a time now where we can help be a part of making that better, or redoing it, that's exciting. We were, before this kicked off, you and I were talking about, meetings today, and that was really cool to hear. One of our managers was like, hey, this is, because I asked somebody, I said, okay, let's end this with something good, right? So everybody tell me something exciting, so what's going on, right? And so she said, we have a lot of great projects right now, and being able to deliver these is really satisfying. It comes with a lot of work, but it's very satisfying. And so that's really cool that they see that, and that our citizens are going to be able to see that.
Yes, it's really cool that all these improvements are things you can visually, drive around and see, and that you're having this impact. That's really, really, really cool. Awesome. Okay, I have just 2 more questions for you. So the first one, you've kind of answered a little bit, but if people want to get in touch with you, they have more questions about, public works, or maybe they're interested in applying, or they just have, other things they want to talk to you about, how can they get in touch with you if they have further questions?
So email is awesome, right? So I don't think I gave my email address. It's chad.reed@stocktonca.gov.
Okay.
And then, office line is 209-937-8302. Ask Stockton, right? So any of the issues that you have out there, that's, like we talked about, right? The street light, the pothole, the street sign, the trees falling down in the middle of my street, like that kind of stuff, definitely. Well, that you want to pick up the phone, right? So that's probably a little bit more pressing. Pick up the phone and call us. But Ask Stockton is a great communication tool for us. So
right. Thank you. And the last question I have for you is there anything else that you would like people to know or understand about your division of public works or the work that you guys do?
I feel like I've talked about it enough, or I've mentioned it earlier, and that's I think that's it's important to know that the employees are just as happy to see this work done, right? Our city staff is just as happy to see these projects being completed and coming to fruition. That we share some of the same challenges and frustrations that obviously our citizens, our customers do, and that's as a citizen, if you see something, please tell us. You know what I mean? We want to be out there. We want to try and fix it. We want to try and make it better. If we can. So definitely, use that Stockton and put in the notice and let us get out there and get a chance to get it fixed.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you again for answering all of my questions. I hope it wasn't too much.
No, not at all.
You shed light on a lot of important issues in our community, so thank you. And now I would like to open it up to your questions. So are you ready? Do you feel ready?
Yeah, let's do this. I don't know. This is always the good part, right?
Okay, so here is a question from Michael Huber. He's asking, can you shed any light, no pun intended, pun is intended, on when the retrofitting of the streetlights in downtown will be done? So I think maybe that's for the LED and maybe some other streetlight work.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we are in the design phase, if you would, right? So that's like out there taking inventory, looking at the streets and intersections, doing the counts, and then dollar costing, right? So making sure that we have the budget that we can make the necessary repairs in the needed, not that that's all not needed, right? But in the high focus areas, and make sure we can get those completed. So that project is underway right now. We're doing the design work, and then our goal is to deliver that in 2022. So probably more towards the latter half of 2022.
Amazing. So coming up soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. The next question I have is, this is from Johnny Palacios. He's sharing, Ask Stockton has been very helpful when it comes to reporting illegal dumping and graffiti, huge tree limbs on the sidewalks, as well as other issues in downtown. He says he uses the resource often and always answers the survey questions once the issue has been resolved. His question is, which part of town seems to utilize Ask Stockton the most?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind words, and glad that the service is working good for Johnny. Somebody probably has that data, but I don't personally, right? So I don't really track, and again, somebody's tracking it. It's just not me. The service request comes in, and we review it, and then we assign it, and then our job is to get it done as soon as we can. So sounds like we're doing our job because Johnny's happy, right? So that's important. But as far as tracking, like is it done by, you know, council districts or North Stockton, South Stockton? I don't know that. I'll tell you, we have some really engaged citizens, right? And we have some really engaged community groups or community watch groups. And so, that's where we see the requests come in because they're actively using it. And so that would be probably maybe a tip for the audience is that, the squeaky wheel gets hard, right? So if we're having an issue, put in that Ask Stockton, and if it's not handled the way that, you thought it should be handled, or we didn't do it, then, I'm sorry, put it in again and tell me we didn't do it right, and we'll get out there and we'll fix it, we'll make it right. So I think that's important.
Okay, so a very useful tool. Seems like people who are representing solid community groups or just organizations in general, it's maybe the people who are using it the most rather than just the average everyday citizen, even though those people are more than welcome to use it. Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. And the last question, this is from our marketing coordinator. He's asking, are there any workshops available for community members that need additional assistance, maybe to help them learn how to use Ask Stockton, the Ask Stockton app, or the website?
That's a very good question, and I'm not aware of that. But I tell you what, I can follow up with an email to you if there is, and then and we can get that question answered that way.
Okay. Yeah, maybe there's some kind of tutorial that you guys can point to, or but it really is pretty easy to use, for anyone who hasn't. But I could see that being helpful if anyone maybe isn't that well versed in using technology.
Yeah, for sure. And I always say I'm the technology idiot in the room, right? So I'm not a super techie guy. But this one, it's pretty user friendly. But it's a good question, and I'll get the answer and send you an email with the follow up, and maybe we can get a post out there about it or something like that.
Okay, so those were all of the viewer questions that we had. So thank you if you did ask a question. And
right, pass the test.
Yes. Now I would just like to remind everyone that this video is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel. We are Downtown Stockton. And if you are watching this live, then you have found us on Facebook. But we are also on Instagram at Downtown Stockton and Twitter at Downtown STKN. So I would like to say a big thank you to Chad. Thank you so much, Chad Reed, for being here, being our guest, for sharing all the wonderful things that you guys are working on in Public Works Operations and Maintenance Division. So thank you so much. And also thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Just, thank you for the invite. Very, very humbling coming across, right? I was like, oh, okay, so I appreciate the invite, and, very proud to be able to talk about the good work that, our employees do throughout Public Works in the city. Any opportunity we can do to promote what they do, that makes me happy. Please, use Ask Stockton, and wash your hands and stay safe right now. So that's all I got.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chad. Thank you so much, viewers. And with that, I would just like to say, have a great day downtown. Thanks, everyone.